welcome everybody to our first recap uh, podcast episode, however you want to call it, of the Miami Grand Prix with the F1 Money Gang. We had a special intro because it's us Mercedes boys here, myself and Capper. How you doing, man?
Good man. Good man. Yeah. It was a overachieved weekend for Mercedes, to say
Yeah.
the least.
Oh yeah. I mean, Russell did great. I thought that I was not expecting Lewis to get into the top five, but he did good. I mean, he kind of put at the end. We all had the top eight bet on the in the Discord. Some of us did, I
Hmm.
know, and so it was a sweat at the end, but he got there. So
Yeah,
um,
I mean, actually, that pass on Gasly was I did not expect that, but yeah, I mean, it just comes to show how Mercedes is always consistent with their strategy and drivers. Uh, Shit box car this year, and they still find a way.
yeah,
Just
yeah, man. And
yeah.
we unfortunately lost the community bet. It was kind of a, I would
Mm-hmm.
say it wasn't a long shot, but it was. He started 18th, I think it was, Lance Stroll, and he actually
Yeah.
did push at the very end, but he was just back the whole race. I don't even think he overtook anybody until the last maybe 10 laps or so.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just his hard tires. For sure, is being stuck behind a DRS train.
Yeah,
They don't have the best top line speed on the straights, but the car is just phenomenal, like throughout turns. So it didn't do him any favors, and I mean, you could see with some of the other teams too. Like, I mean, Magnussen was also in that same position where he was actually, keeping up with the Ferrari, well, Leclerc, most of the time. So, but yeah, that that was that does suck. I think that at the odds though that we spotted it at was pretty good. I think it was plus 150 for when we were talking about it. I think we first spotted the Aston Martins both top 10 at plus 175. Then we looked and we were like, well, Stroll is plus 150. I mean, you're better off maybe taking Stroll at plus 150 than the 175 because what happens if Alonso,
Alonso.
right, has DNF?
Yeah,
You might as well just take that 150. So at first it just went from I like that. We got a little confident in what Stroll's ability could be in this track, and it just didn't work out. I mean, obviously, if a safety car came out, that would have changed everything. I think that it would have probably hit because of that strategy, but you could have probably had a disaster the other way around. But it is
yeah.
what it is. It happens.
And you mentioned the safety car. What is your take on the race as far as did you enjoy it? Did you see anything that you were not expecting to see as far as like every driver being classified? No, I don't even think there was a
There
which
was
was
none.
there was nothing. What do you think of the race? Well, like was it what you
Well,
expected?
so
Red Bull's up at the top. What was
I
your
think
opinion?
there was so I didn't watch it live. I turned off my phone. I waited until I finally got home and watched the race on replay, and I didn't get spoiled. So going in, I didn't know what to expect. But from the top, I think we expected that it would be 1-2 Red Bull. They're just so much faster, right? Like that straight was going to give them the opportunity to pass whomever. I was a little shocked that Verstappen got there faster than he did, but that just comes to show how fast that fucking car is, right? Like this, and in him too. I would say that'd probably be the only little surprise, but not really a surprise because I just expected he'd be in the top two easy within like 10 laps, so 15 laps. But um, I've seen afterwards. I finally went on Twitter and I was seeing lots of uproar about how boring the race was. My initial impression is yes, it was a little stale, but if you can get beyond the 1-2, right, there was actually pretty good overtaking that occurred. Um,
In the middle of the
I
pack, yeah.
yeah, of course. Yeah, in the middle of the pack, like you're seeing like McLaren started off with their just
Who knows what
I
they
I
did?
don't know why they picked this strategy of softs. You're in the back. Why are you doing softs to start with? It didn't even last both their drivers but 6 or 7 laps. So that was kind of shocking to me. Like, why would you do that? Save that for the end or something. I don't know. Wait for a safety car. Start on mediums at minimum, not soft. So that was a little shocking to me, and that just completely screwed their race. They were like bottom like 5 easy. Um, Yuki was surprising. Yuki and Magnussen, I think were. I don't want to say Yuki was surprising. I just think that AlphaTauri has been a mess in practices and qualifying, but he's just shown up every freaking race. He's been actually consistent. 10th and 11th, I think, has been his finishing. So that was probably a shocker to me. And Kevin Magnussen too, just holding within that 7 to 10 position. He did a fantastic job of just keeping up there. So going back to your question, a little subpar from what I've seen. Definitely much better than Baku. I, but it definitely wasn't one of my favorite races. And this is coming from me, who this is the first race I actually saw on TV because last year I was actually at the race, so I didn't really get to. You don't catch the action like you do, like when you're sitting at home on the couch. So, uh, um,
But and what do you think of?
no, yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, you cut off there at the end.
yeah, no problem. Yeah.
So didn't mean to cut you off. What do you think of the tire strategy that Red Bulls came out with? You know, starting Checo
Yeah.
with the mediums and then going to hards and vice versa for Max. Do you think that they were saying? Do you think that Red Bull was better with the mediums or the hards, and why they
Uh,
chose strategy that they did?
I think it made sense. So one, you can't put Perez on hards to start the race. You're P1. You've got to put what's best for him, because if he doesn't have hards, then he could lose that position easily to Alonso, and he's playing catch up, and you don't want to deal with that. So that's like default. You knew that was going to happen. I would have been shocked if they actually did go with hards to start with. So from that perspective, I think that was totally a right move to do. Putting Max, I think, was the right gamble, to be honest with you, because I know he's ninth. Typically from the, I would say, 10th below position when you have a medium hard strategy, that's where you put on the hards because you're kind of in this long game kind of situation. You have the advantage of pace even on the hards compared to the rest of the field, especially from like that 5 to 10 position. So I think that was give credit to Horner. I mean, he did the right thing. I know like there might be some fans that are like, oh, they not think what, just throw that away. Like objectively speaking, that was the right move for Red Bull to do
Yeah,
for sure.
and most teams did say that the hard tires were the better tire choice for the race
Oh yeah,
itself. But I see like what you mean. You know, at the start you don't want to lose the positions, especially
yeah.
with Alonso being right there, who has the pace.
You could have
Um,
lost 2 positions too, even because Signs was actually doing pretty well. So you're constantly in dirty air playing catch up. That's the last thing you want to do as a team, right?
yeah,
The first thing you want to maybe focus on is let's stay in that first position. Hey, for Max, we can play a little bit around with that a little bit more, and the best opportunity for us to get to a 1-2 is this strategies based off the cars for sure.
yeah, yeah. Nice, nice. Well, like looking at that, let's kind of go over picks that we did this week in the Discord. I know that myself, I went 6-1 on the Discord. I don't have the
Yeah,
screenshot here showing because it is. I don't put them the way that they do. I do it with the slips and then
yeah,
the odds,
yeah.
so they're not on here. But overall, as our the core, F1MG group guys that started this. We were up by almost 10 units. We went 5-2 on the pick'ems, in which Lights Out, he crushed on Saturday. He went nine
Mm-hmm.
and one in all in between Price Picks and Underdog. Just amazing. I'm not sure how many units he was up, but we could get that information from him. But he just had a very good weekend.
Oh yeah.
Like as far as Jinxie, Renegade, yourself, and Integrity, we all pulled everything in one, and we were up more than 10 units if I put in all the pick'ems. And
Yeah.
because I do know that some of those pick'ems were a 3-4 driver parlay, which paid 5, 6, 7 times. So props to Lights
Yeah.
Out. He's the pick'ems king. So
Totally.
and
Underdog in Prize Picks for any of the listeners out there. Those are the Pick'ems apps that he normally plays. I know there's some others, but those are the two main. So
yeah, and if you guys are not on Underdog Fantasy, please sign up with our link, or just use the code F1MG as we mention it every week. It helps us, and it helps you because we're gonna be giving you the picks every Saturday, Sunday, or Lights will at
yeah.
least. um,
Yeah, Lights is the king of it, and there's in our Discord channel is popping, and also another thing is they catch these picks before they move because a lot of the times they'll drop them and then they just move so quick, and these guys are just on it
yeah, and what is one?
immediately with everything with the positioning.
Yeah, well,
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to ask you that. With these pick and even Price Picks,
Mm.
do you see any edge in earlier when these apps release their lines? Do you see a better edge on the pick'em apps and the DFS than you would in the sports books? On your opinion, because you could use more than I can. I can't use Underdog in my state, so I
Yeah.
can't really shop around.
I think so. I mean, they've gotten steady with where to put these driver placements. So for anyone that's never played, they'll put like in last week, for instance, prequel. I think Checo had they call it over under, however more or less. But like, what position are you going to end up in for the grid? So going into qualifying, and they had Checo at like 3.5. So meaning that if Checo gets P3, P2, or P1,
You
that
win the
you're
bet.
picking less, you win the bet. That seems like a lock. But the trick for price picks and underdog is you have to pick two or more. So you got to find the other driver, right? So there's a bunch of other drivers out there, and Kevin Magnussen was one of them. You could, like, on a track like this, I think he was at 14 and a half. Actually, we even said it. We were talking in Discord, Lights and I. There was some news about Haas, and then I said it, like, Haas is officially on qualify, race. Like, they got to be on our radar. He posted Kevin Magnussen. He's like, "What do you think about this?" The only reason why I said, like, listen, I'm not gonna have an opinion on Kevin Magnussen is because it's very volatile. You don't know what you're gonna get out of him, right? You
One
just
race
don't.
he's there, and then the next you're cussing at yourself mid race.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But going back to your question, it was 15, I think, and a half or 14 and a half.
yeah.
He ended up less than that. That's the biggest advantage you can get if you can find the right ones. But then you have, like, a lot of them are very trappy, I guess is what I would call it. Like, they had Russell Hamilton in like 6, 7, right? Like, you have
You
to
just
really
don't know
think hard
where.
about it. Yeah.
And I know that some of the apps will push the action, even if one of the two
Yeah.
drivers wins, the other one pushes. They might just void the bet or give you your money back.
Yeah, like with other sports, so like in example, we've played around with hockey. You can at least go into the sports book and see, like, for instance, they do shots on goal. You can go see the players, like, uh just their odds on shots on goal that day and compare. But with this, it's a little bit more unique because there isn't like a market for
No.
Checo 3, right, 4. Like
I
you
wish
can
there
maybe
was. That would be good.
you can maybe go backwards through like top 3, top 6, but it's still the odds are not going to be 1-to-1 on how you would match it up. So it is a
Yeah.
little more challenging in that sense, for sure.
Yeah. No, that's good. And I don't want to put you on the spot here, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it first. I want to say I want to give a recap of my biggest sweat bet that I won this week, and you
All right.
think of
Yeah.
yours while I'm
Yeah.
doing mine. But mine
Okay.
was Nico Hulkenberg to not finish in the top 12, and man, I was sweating the whole time. I mean, he was in 10th place for about 25 laps, and even after he came out of the pits after he changed tires, he came out to I believe he was 14th, and then I was like, oh my god, he's gonna come out here. You know, Stroll still has to go in, and this and that, and I was sweating the whole time. And then when Yuki and Stroll actually came out with the new tires, they were faster than him, and but that was the biggest sweat of my bet weekend. Everything else cashed pretty easy.
Yeah.
Like Lewis the top 8. Then I had my only loser was Lance Stroll. Not to to be at
But
points.
that's like default. If a community bet hits, you've got to bet it.
Oh
You just
yeah,
have
yeah,
to.
yeah. And
I
now they've
actually
had it in
doubled
there.
down
Yeah,
on it. I doubled
same.
down on it because it tends like it's normally been Alpine top 10.
Yeah,
So
and of
I'm
course
already
this
I'm
week
that
they win.
of course. Well, and I bet that. I guess yeah, but like I think I've been betting Alpine top 10 every weekend since last year anyways.
Yeah,
But like you auto bet. A community bet is what 17-5 now, so you have
yeah,
to.
yeah.
Um, Wait, so are we saying like a bet that you
You
won like last second or like
or was the biggest sweat the whole race where you were worried about it, you
oh,
were
okay.
nervous about it, where
I
you were
would
like,
say I would say mine I'm a big head-to-head guy, and for me it was definitely cuz I could easily say Alpine. I did have Alpine top 10 plus 175, but I was kind of confident in that more so than Hamilton over Ocon. I did pick Hamilton over Ocon. I know some people had Gasly over Hamilton, and I stayed away from that. But the reason why I picked Hamilton over Ocon is because it was the same odds as uh, over Gasly, because it was like minus 155 over Gasly, which was kind of weird. I probably should have taken the other side, but I didn't want to bet against it. But that one I was sweating. I wasn't sure if he was going to get to passing Ocon. It seemed like at one point he was kind of stuck behind that DRS train. Um, and he ended up doing it. I mean, close second was Russell over Leclerc. I think I was on an island on that bet. I think like Jinx had that. I think everyone had it. I just did not see it. As many of you may or may not know, we actually do use a lot of the data. Me and Lights have been working through a lot of data. So to give us some implied moves on head-to-head matchups, however we want to see it, and we've improved it over the past few weeks. It's been kind of tough because not every weekend has been similar. Like we've had the weird sprint in Baku, FP2 in Australia kind of messed things up for us. We felt like this was the first weekend we can see FP1 through 3 and get some good reads, and it's worked so far. So that one was my sweat bet.
yeah, and another thing to mention for the Discord, we got so many guys in there, and there has been so many new people. We thank everybody that joined this weekend. But there's everybody sharing some kind of an insight that they see or some kind of an edge, and you could always find something that will either back your bet or can make you more confident in your bet. So please join the Discord. We're over 1,000 members now, which is great
Yeah.
considering that this was just started just a year ago, and it was just a fun little Discord group.
Not even, man. I
Yeah,
think we started this thing in June, even.
I joined in July, and it was after it was right before the summer break. So yeah, I
I
was
was
there in
like,
July. Yeah,
who is this lights out and McButters guy asking me to join this channel? And then here we are a year
Yeah,
later.
yeah. So, all right. Well, there was a something that we wanted to talk for a while was DFS, the fantasy side.
Mm,
We have
yeah.
some guys in our group that actually we talk about DFS a lot, and we have a member in the Discord, Garrett, who has been sharing like winning lineups every week since the start of the season. They might not be the number one lineups, but they're always in the money. You're always either making double your money or triple. So I want to give a shout out to Garrett, who I hope can join us one day on a podcast to talk
Yeah,
DFS and
man.
fantasy.
He's solid. He's got some good insight. I like that he focuses purely on DFS, and it helps out so much. As someone that is very newbie to the DFS, F1 DFS world, I would say even all DFS. He's really good.
Yeah, yeah, yep. And to talk about that is this is not my lineup. This is the lineup that
Yeah,
won the biggest.
Yuki,
So let me
captain.
talk about this. Let me tell you about this. So
Yeah.
so this is the lineup. I join in this tournament every week. It's the biggest tournament on F1 on DraftKings. It is a $15 entry. You pick five drivers, a constructor. One of those five drivers has to be a captain. And if you look at this lineup here, you see Yuki as a captain, and you're starting to think like, what am I missing here? What's going on? And but when you do, like, when you take the strategy, and you're like looking at Yuki, you're looking at Logan there. It's like, hold on, these guys started 20th and 17th. Why are they in your lineup? But when you
Yeah.
start to build your lineups, you need to look at how you gain points in DFS. Like,
Yeah.
what are some of the criterias? The way that I see this is that this user started with the constructor and said, okay, Red Bull is gonna win the race either or, so they're gonna have to be automatically. And as you can see, 71% of the pool, which was about 7,000 people, picked Red Bull to win the race as a constructor. Then he took some low drivers like Logan and Yuki that started from the back of the grid almost.
Mm.
Like especially Logan, there was no way for them to lose points. There was like absolutely no way. And with him putting
Yeah.
Yuki as a captain, he was able to save on salary cap to use Max Verstappen, George Russell, and even Kevin Magnussen, who was very cheap. Even though he started in fourth, he had like he lost, I believe, was five or he finished in ninth,
Yeah,
right?
it says five
Oh yeah,
grid,
yeah,
minus
yeah.
five grid. So is that like I guess that's minus 5 points for losing spots, which
Yeah,
goes back to your statement, right? Which is he maximized every slot with points in the best way
yeah,
that he
and
could.
and as you could see there, Yuki was only used in the 1% as a captain, which
Mm-hmm.
automatically gives you this advantage, like in a big pool like this. Treat it as NFL,
Yeah.
like I know
Yeah.
you play NFL, and with
Yeah, I do.
NFL you
Hmm.
might have Macaulay Hardman as one of those weird wide receivers that you just put in so you could get Pat Mahomes, and he goes for
Yeah.
four touchdowns, and you win the biggest tournament, And
Yeah.
happened to me. I won one of the big tournaments in on FanDuel years ago, and my quarterback was
Hmm.
Blake Bortles, but he had his career game, and he was owned by like 2% of the people. so so
Yeah.
sometimes going into strategy is a good way to do it. And I want to talk about there's a user in the Discord who mentioned, hey, how do you guys pick your lineups based on what kind of pools are you playing in, 50-50 cash
Yeah.
leagues or the big
Yeah, like what is
pools?
the strategy? Because I feel like, and that's something even I would like to understand is because you don't want to pick the same lineup for one of those big pools, right? Like the 20 that like that's the one you want to use for like the 10,000 people to 5,000 whatever that has this weird payout.
Yeah,
But like head to head, what do you want to do
and
there?
let me just repeat the lineup that won this week. The biggest tournament on DraftKings was Yuki Tsunoda was the captain. Max Verstappen, George Russell, Kevin Magnussen, Logan Sargent, and Red Bull as a constructor. And the guy cashed in 20 grand with a
It's
15
awesome.
with a $15 entry. Shout out if you're watching this. Get in the
Hey,
Discord so
join
you can
our
give us.
just join
Yes.
join with us, man.
Yeah, we'll love that. I might try to find him on Twitter, see if the
You
username
should,
comes
man.
up. So
I'd love to bring someone like that in. Like that is I mean, but like going back to your point, I've been now more actively playing. I haven't played every race. I think I've done 2 out of the 5, 3 out of the
hey, you won the
5.
F1MG one this
I
week.
mean, I finally won last week, yeah, and I think I kind of went with what. Let me go back and see what I put, but I went with the strategy where I was like, well, do I want to go and do something like that, right? You put that guy that is just you would not expect a Yuki, but I kind of rushed myself and I said, you know what? No, I will. I'm going to pick someone different. So I picked someone a little higher, and I'm trying to get to it.
Yeah,
But I
well, while
had
you're looking at that, I could
yeah.
talk a little bit about the
Yeah.
how I pick cash leagues 50-50s or just like my 10 buddies that
Yes. Yes.
were playing league. The way that I look at those types of leagues versus the big pools is that in the smaller pools, you want to
Mhm.
have that stud. You want to have that Max Verstappen. You want to have that big
So smaller
constructor.
pools is what though? Like
Smaller pools is
what type?
like me, like cash leagues, like the NFL are called the cash leagues, where there's just maybe 10 people and you have a grand
Well,
entry.
we're not talking about like 100 plus. This
No, no,
is
no. We're
like
talking about 5, 6 guys, maybe 10
that's it.
guys. And
Got it.
the way that I treat it is I need to have that stud because if you don't,
Yeah.
you're already automatically losing there. You know,
Yeah, and I've done
because
that. I know from NFL experience, I learned the hard way early on. Like, you can't just go. You have to pick that right, like quarterback. Same here, right? Like,
or
you got to do
running
this.
back, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is how
Hmm.
I always look at it, and I always enter in the big pool, but in the
Hmm.
smaller pools, I want to have that stud that I always think like I always pick the person who I think is gonna win the race as my captain because that
Hmm.
gives you automatically 1.5 points. So if you like
Hmm.
somebody that you think is gonna win, I would always
You should
pick
put
him
him
as
as
a captain.
captain.
Yeah, you might want to pay.
Well, that's funny. That's
That's
funny because I actually did do it in the right way and squeaked by not even 1 point
yeah. You
against
beat me.
you
Yeah, you beat me by
by
1 point,
not even. And I ended up doing Alonso as my captain. So
which
I
was
kind of went,
still a
yeah,
good
no, like
pick.
I was thinking like instead of doing a crazy weird driver for my captain, I didn't know how many was in it. I just need to create this thing and I was trying to play around and I was said Alonso gives me the best opportunity because
And
it's
you could build
cheaper.
your lineup around him,
He's going to get me top 3 points, and then I put yes, Russell and Gasly were like, and then Red Bull Racing, right?
which
So I
was
was able
big points. Yeah,
61 points right there,
yeah,
and it looks like 100%. Oh, 100% from our league. Got it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because there was only
yeah,
like a few people.
yeah. I was like, damn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, but then you go into the big leagues, the big pools, like the one that we just showed
Mhm.
with the guy that won 20 grand, and there's 6,000 people. Even if it's over 100, you kind of want to be bold. Like
Yeah,
you have to be different because everybody will have the one week that I shared the lineup that we won. You know, the first place I think it was in Jeddah with the whole points fiasco that we got bumped down. We should
yeah,
have won the first place, but that was one of those where I picked the winner again. I took the same strategy because I was confident in it. But then I had
yeah.
people like Albin started at 17. I had Yuki starting at 18. You know what? So I just went lower guys. You always want to look at guys who are lower on the grid that can beat their teammate. That you're confident in. You know, like if you have like Nick DeVries and Yuki. If you're confident that Yuki has had a better weekend, and he's very cheap, you're automatically getting 5 points if Yuki beats him, no matter where he finishes. So that's five
So
points
to
that
beat your teammate is
you get.
five
You
points
get five
automatically.
points
So
automatically.
Alonso gave me 5 points just right off the bat,
He gave you
correct?
7.5 because you had him as a captain. But yes,
Oh,
if he
and
wasn't a
yes, yes,
captain,
yes,
yes. So he
yes.
would have been
So
5.
So yeah, and I think that's where, that's why I wanted to pick like a Russell or a Gasly in this situation because I just
Yeah,
knew they were going
and
to
you
be
did
15
good
minutes of
because they
3
all
points,
beat their
right? Yeah.
teammates. So you got 15 points just from these three guys. You
Yeah,
know,
except
and
Hulkenberg disappointed.
yeah,
Yeah.
but also I try to stay away from two drivers on the same team because you're kind of like they might get into the points, but you're kind of like shooting like you're losing value because you might have picked somebody with lower
Mm.
salary and gotten the 5 extra points because they could have beaten their teammate. But if you pick two guys who are on the same team, to me that's
So
automatically
spread
you're
it
at a
out.
disadvantage.
Don't do simultaneous teammate picks. Just do
Try
pick
it.
one from each team. You maximize your points because is it you lose 5 points, right? If you don't beat your
No, no,
teammate,
no. You get zero.
or you just get you get that's a bonus.
It's a
It's grid
bonus. Yeah,
spot. I think it's grid spot where you lose the points. So if you
correct.
go lower, it's where you lose the points.
Yep. Hmm.
Yeah,
And and
and
and
then
and then you get points if you like Yuki started 18th and he gained 8 spots, so he got
yeah,
about 5 points I think or 4 points I think it was.
I can't wait for the next race because I'm gonna sit here and do like just a bunch of random big pools where
Why
I'm gonna
not?
throw just I don't know, a couple dollars or whatever it is to. I'm gonna just throw a
Just to
bunch of them
follow
with
it.
like
Yeah.
Logan Sargent as my. No,
Oh
I'm not
no,
gonna do
but
that.
no, but let me tell
But
you,
like, yeah,
Logan
yeah.
Sargent lineup won the previous week as a
Actually,
captain.
that's I do want to say there was someone else that posted.
It was
It
me.
was like
It
a.
was me.
Well, was it
Probably.
you? Well, this guy was in another Discord
Oh, okay,
channel
okay.
though.
Sorry then.
He was in another Discord channel and he posted another winner, $400 in this pool. And the person that he picked was Yuki actually as his captain. Guy picked Logan Sargent, got only 1.5 points. One and a half
Yeah,
points. But he had Red Bull Racing, Fernando Alonso, Max Verstappen, Yuki, and Magnussen. Like that is clearly the winner right there
yeah, because
for.
he already had the top three guys and the winning constructor right there.
Although the one you posted got 138 points, this one got 137.8. So
That's so the same guy was in the same pool because I seen that lineup.
yeah,
It
this one
sounds
it's
familiar to
crazy.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I mean it seems like sometimes you just right off the captain maximize the remaining spots because that's where you're going to get your
yeah,
points. It doesn't
and
matter what you put up there. So
I agree. And I prefer to get 6 points from my captain as Logan, or even 3 points, like you said, 1.5. You said even just get
yeah, he
that,
got 1.5 points, and that was his freaking captain.
but then I
One and a
can
half.
get Gasly or Russell that will give me
But
like 20.
yeah, and just having Max and Red Bull got him instantly into 100 points. So now he's just hoping that like these guys that it worked
Alonso's,
out.
yeah,
He got 9 from Yuki, 4 from Kevin. I mean,
yeah,
that's perfect. And Kevin probably could have had more points if he just didn't lose so many damn spots. But
yeah, yeah. But that's, I mean, that's one of those things that Garrett also shares a lots of different
yes,
lineups in the Discord, and he will give you the reasoning why he's doing it. So if you are into
yeah,
DFS and fantasy, please just take a look at it, get in the Discord, even share your own. We all like to talk about our lineups, and it's fun. It's a DFS, and it's fairly new for F1 within those
yeah,
platforms. So there's not, like they're not as big as NFL and NBA and NHL and all those other ones, but they're fun to follow, and you could win 20 grand with $15 bet, so, or entry,
yeah.
I should say. So um but yeah, that's how I look at it.
I love it. I
It's
mean,
fun.
I'm learning something new here too, folks. This is something I'm trying to get better at. I think I'm getting there. I mean, again, it's between Dolcetto and Garrett. I'm learning a thing or two about
Yeah,
DFS.
nice, nice. Well, is there anything else that we didn't cover or we didn't
The one
mention?
thing I would say, we are in a fantasy league as well. We use the app Grid Rivals, really good app for F1 Fantasy. I've used them all. I played it's kind of similar into the DFS thing where you got to pick like constructor and everything, but the salary caps are a little bit different in the way they're set up. So if you're not used to it, you probably will see a little bit different. And the more unique thing about this is you sign the driver to a up to 5 races as your contract, as they put it. So once you've used that, so I think we just finished the 5th race. So if you've had like Max Verstappen for 5 races, now you have to pick a new driver, and you can't pick Max for 1 race. So like you have to be very strategic in, well, what do I do next? Do I just sign on a guy for 1 week and just hope that
But he does
this
well.
works out,
Yeah.
or do I actually go a different route? And on top of that, you gain and lose your salary just based off the production of your driver. So if the driver costs you 20 million, I think for Max Verstappen, or it's actually more, but let's just play with me, 20 million. And he does well. He continues to do well. He earns like 1 or 2 million per race, right? 3, something like that. But if you do bad, the salary goes down, which means your overall salary goes down. So as you're getting through races, you're trying to make sure you increase your salary, because when the contract ends, now you can afford someone a little bit higher if you really wanted to, and you keep building up. So
Yeah. I
it
wish I
is
could
very
play it. I wish.
it's a lot of fun. It's challenging. We have like, I don't know, 300 people in this pool right now, and I think our own Renegade is winning right now in it. And then we have like 3 of our guys in the top 5. I had a disaster start, but I finally climbed back up into the top 20. But my salary is way lower than everyone else's, because I had only signed some drivers to three races or so.
Yeah, that's a
So
fun concept.
yeah,
I
Grid
like that.
Rivals, absolutely fun. If you are playing fantasy, like we are also doing fantasy tips, we got a bunch of guys that will help you out as well. I know you may not be on ours now, but again, we also do give a lot of fantasy tips. And actually, the CEO of Grid Rivals, I think, is in our Discord channel too. He's always there to help.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, well, yeah. Give him a shout out if you see him. And well, I think that's all I got on my agenda here, and I think this is kind of a fun little
Yeah.
episode that we can start doing here and there. When we all, I know we all have busy lives, hockey
No, I
games,
think yeah.
you know.
I just literally walked in the door and just quickly showered and got in on this. But
Yeah,
no, I think this is awesome. I think this is a good way also to just give people an update and give a recap, right? Like let them understand like why we won, lost, and we can talk through it. So
yeah.
love it.
All right, guys. Well, we hope to get another episode here in the next week or so. I know we have a week off until we get the Imola GP, but hope everybody's doing well, and up until next time.
Yeah.
See ya, man.